Yo, what's up, guys? Kevin here, Anthony over there as well. And what we are going to talk about, Anthony, you can kick it off actually.
Yeah, today, guys, we're going to talk about why listening is so important during a sales call and how listening can actually help you uncover your prospects' true selling points, the triggers that are going to make them sell, and the dangers of not listening and how that would ruin your sale.
Yep. And I wanted to talk about this actually because we had a conversation about this before. And the that's a big mistake I usually see with people on sales calls is that they kind of just like skip right into the pitch without finding out what's important to them. And I remember you talking about this specifically about how at the end of the day, you just got to find out like what the outcome it is that they want, right? So maybe you can elaborate more about that on how you discover that, what kind of questions to ask, and what that mistake usually looks like with salespeople.
Yeah, and in the beginning of your sales call, after you introduce yourself, obviously, you want to go into what I call an intelligence gathering process, where you're asking them, first of all, why they're even on the call, what they're looking to gain out of the call, and pretty much what's stopping them from getting from point A to point B in their business.
Yep. And so, what kind of questions would be good to find out about that? Because I agree with that. It's important to know what they've tried before in the past so that you're not really presenting a solution that they've already tried. What kind
Yeah.
of good questions would you say are there to start asking them?
Yeah, some things you could ask is, what's your current revenue? If they're comfortable asking, and always preface that with, if you don't mind me asking, what's your current revenue? Where do you want to be in 3 to 6 months? What do you think is stopping you from getting there? And, what have you tried is a huge question to ask
Mm-hmm.
because maybe they've even tried something that you're offering, and now it goes from you trying to convince them that this method works to why we're better than your other service provider in the past.
Yep, that's huge, and that's a question I like to ask as well because I do a lot of closing by chat and also email. And that question alone is going to tell you so much about what they've tried before in the past and what because they're already going to have these beliefs about you and the solution. So the more you can find out about what's been holding them back, that's going to be more information that's going to be helpful to you to close the deal. So let's say, for example, if the offer you're trying to sell is for them to generate extra income, have a side hustle, and so it's important to find out what they've tried before in the past already. If they say they've done drop shipping or affiliate marketing, you want to dig into that and then ask them what is it about that do you think that didn't make it work, and that's going to be very useful information for you to know before kind of presenting your solution.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One situation that I've come across is because I sell a lot of paid advertising to
Mm-hmm.
multiple people in different industries. And one, for example, I was talking to a realtor, and the first thing I asked him was, how many deals are you currently closing on a monthly basis? The guy tells me one every 3 months. And I ask him, is that enough deals that satisfies you? Are you comfortable making that, or would you like to make more? And obviously, one deal every 3 months for him isn't enough for him. So he just telling me like, I would always love more deals. It's so hard to find people that are either interested in selling their home or buying a property. Right there, if you're listening, you can tell
Mm-hmm.
his issue is lead generation. He needs more leads coming through the door. And if you're listening at all times, it'll be very easy for you to pick up that's what you need, and that's how you're supposed to gear the pitch towards him to get more leads.
Yep, 100%. And not to offend anybody, but I think like some new sales reps, they're a little bit autistic with going through the sales process. Like sometimes they'll just skip through the pitch and they'll ask a question without really being there and being present. Uh, like that kind of information there. If somebody said they tried paid ads and they told you they were getting X amount of deals, all that information is going to be very helpful for you to again close the deal. But some people, they'll kind of barely even listen to that and then go on to the next module or thing that they're selling, right?
Yeah, and I've run a lot of trainings, and a common mistake I see with new sales reps is without even asking questions or barely listening to the questions. they always try to demonstrate, why they're the best company, why X, Y, and Z
Mm-hmm.
is going to help you grow, not even knowing that maybe this is not even what the guy needs. And you're just shoving something down his throat without listening to what he wants. So you can't gear your presentation towards his actual pain points.
Yep. And and I think another reason that kind of holds people back from asking questions and doing more discovery or intelligence gathering is, like they might be a little bit shy or scared to ask those kind of questions. I remember that. I remember when I first started off as a sales rep, I was doing door to door selling vacuum cleaners, and I was a salesperson, and I also managed salespeople too. So I saw it from my own perspective and also other people's perspective. Usually, with the newer reps, they would be scared to ask these types of questions. They might have felt it was a little bit intrusive. So it does take a little bit of experience and confidence to ask these questions. But more times than not, people will answer these questions if you ask them, even if you do insist on digging into, uh, like their pain points, right? So, how do you personally kind of figure out people's pain points? So, in on a sales call.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And the first thing, to go back to your other point of new sales reps being scared to ask those questions, normally you might feel like you're prying for information. And I do get that
Mm-hmm.
some people,
Mm-hmm.
if you do pry, they get really offended because you are asking a lot of personal information.
Yep.
But I think as long as you switch your mindset to the frame of like, I'm asking you because I'm trying to diagnose your situation so I can help. Once you start asking from that perspective, you'll notice that people open up a lot more. You're not asking them, how many deals are you closing on a monthly basis to kind of size them up as a person or to size up their success. You're asking them how many deals they're funding or how many deals they're closing just to see what you can do to help them increase that goal or to see if they're satisfied with that number. And when you ask it
Yep.
like that, it comes off a lot less uh, in an attacking way, and you'll be surprised, a lot more people answer. Now, to answer your next question of how do I find pain points, pretty much you listen to what they're saying. For
Mm-hmm.
example, that the guy, I'll bring it back to the realtor I was talking to before. He was saying, he closes a deal every 3 months, but his problem, or he says he just can't find enough leads. Normally, look at what people are complaining about the most. Okay,
Yep. That's
a
interesting.
few typical things in sales that I notice is they're gonna either it's the lead flow, the quality of the leads, or they just don't have enough time to handle everything. Those are like the three main ones I come
Yep.
across.
Nice. Yeah, and another way to frame it as well is that the more you can find out about their problems, the better you are at helping them as well, right?
Definitely, definitely. And the best thing too is just speaking in terms of solving their problems. That's when people are really going to open up and listen to you. You're all of a sudden you're the guy who has the answers.
Yeah, and yeah, I remember us kind of doing some back end deals with our clients, and we were just on a call like this when we were calling prospects, and that was what I was noticing about you is just calling them, talking about like the main outcome that they really wanted, and it's very specific as well. And what comes to mind there is that whenever I'm writing copy as well for myself and my clients, that's the biggest mistake that copywriters make too. It's writing copy that's very unspecific. With sales, you have the luxury of being able to ask people questions and finding out their pain points. But with copy, uh, you have to. Otherwise, you're not going to make conversions. You have to really nail down your messaging and find out like what specifically it is that they're having a problem with. The clients I work with, the ones that have offers that just don't really sell much, are the ones that have very unspecific offers where it's saying, work with me and I'll help you get results. It doesn't really connect with the audience. You want to make sure that you're talking to a specific problem that they have, and that gets attention, and that gets sales too.
Yeah, and that's a main thing too. Writing copy is great in terms of helping you develop your salesmanship because when you're writing copy, you always have to be writing in terms of how the client can benefit. not only do you have to guess what their pain points might be, but you have to
Hmm.
tackle every single one that could come up. Otherwise, if you miss one, potentially you're not going to resonate with your guys, and then they're just
Yep,
not going to buy your stuff.
exactly. What other mistakes would you say that you notice with newer sales reps?
Not a new one per se, but the most glaring one would be not doing the intelligence gathering portion of it. So
Hmm.
many times I see people just hopping in, just saying, hey, we can get you, for example, social media marketing offering, we can
Hmm.
get you 30 to 50 leads. And then halfway through the presentation, the guy, he just looks at the sales rep and he goes, hey, man, that's great and all, but my problem is that I deal with like low quality leads. I'm too busy to handle that. I don't need 30 leads. I need like five guys that are just ready to go. So I don't think this is the right fit for me, but I thank you for your time. And then boom, the sale's just
Yep.
dead. Whereas if you just ask that question in the beginning, what's your problem now? Is it a lack of leads or is it a lack of quality of leads? And you're spending too much time on these bogus or these low quality leads. If you just ask that one question, he would be able to just tailor himself to how the leads are not only generated but pre-qualified and vetted for that client. Probably could have lost the deal right then and there.
Yep. And that kind of reminds me of this book I read. I forget what it was called exactly, but Gary Bencivenga recommended it. It was like it's called I forget. The author is Harry Brown though, and he talks about sales and the importance of asking those types of questions. And even
Yeah,
if your product does 10 things, and the prospect only cares about one, you only want to talk about that one thing that really matters to them.
exactly. And if you start talking about these other things, they're just going to think, hey, listen, that's not a problem to me. I mean, that sounds great, but that's not a problem that I have. So I'm looking for somebody who can solve my specific problem. And the funny thing is, even if
Hmm.
your product does solve that problem, the fact that you didn't touch on it, it's just going to make them turned off to your offer. They're just going to think you're selling them.
Exactly. And a mistake that I'm seeing with one of my clients before he worked with me is that his offer is just he wants to appeal to everybody. And
Yeah,
something interesting that you said there is that prospects they want to know that it can solve their specific problem, right? And that's a question that they're gonna have floating in their mind the whole time that you're talking to them is this person gonna solve my specific problem, right?
yeah.
And so that's gonna be that's the reason why you want to find out, like what specific problems that they have, so that you can present your specific solution as well.
Yeah. Also, it's a good thing. Now, some people might not think this is the most ethical thing, but intelligence gathering is big because now you know what they're really concerned about, what their problems are. You can really use that against them. Say, for example,
Yeah.
somebody's problem is qualified leads. You could say, you can try all your different methods, but it's just going to bring you leads that aren't qualified. Using our system, not only do we help you generate leads, but we qualify them for you, which is not only going to save you time, but you're gonna, since the leads are a lot more qualified, you're gonna make a lot more from these deals closing because of our pre-qualified leads.
Yep. And I think that's another mistake some people do too. It's whether it's newbies or seasoned vets or people that just aren't natural salespeople. Is that they'll talk about these other things that your product does, but at the end of the day, what really matters is qualified leads, right? So you don't want to stray too far away from that main thing that they want, which is
Yeah,
qualified leads.
definitely. Listening is a huge thing when it comes to sales, and
Yeah.
and people spend a lot more time talking than they do listening, and that's killing your sales.
Do you think it's an acquired skill listening, or is it like natural?
I think it's an acquired skill. Some people are better than it at others. Naturally, don't get me wrong, but definitely if you practice it and you just learn to shut your mouth and let people finish their sentences and really listen to what they said, then over time you will get better at listening. Really fight that urge to cut them off and be like, yeah, yeah, actually this is what we can do for you. Really fight that urge because not only are you not listening, but people actually find that disrespectful when you cut them off. So it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yep. And even kind of like 180 that, or on the flip side, people just love being listened to as well. It's It, they can instantly feel it when somebody's listening. And a mentor said to me once is that we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. So yeah, I guess we'll just wrap it at that. Is there any last words you want to say though, Anthony?
Last words I'd say: develop your listening skills, gather intelligence, and really use that to help guide your prospects into using your products.
Yep. And it's last note here, I guess it's not just for them, but it's also for you as well. If you do want to close that sale, it's in your best interest to shut up and start listening.
Definitely.
All right. Peace.
Peace. Wait a second.